Have you noticed this trend in the YouTube gardening space? Videos will have titles like, here are the 5 mistakes you should never make when planting so-and-so plant, or you would be foolish not to plant these plants in this month. I've seen the thumbnails, you've seen the thumbnails. Oftentimes these videos are very educational and teach you about gardening, but there's a sense of negativity that hits you right before you even watch the video. So in this video, I thought I would shed some positivity on making mistakes in the garden, share some mistakes of my own, and explain why I think it's essential that you do make mistakes when you're first starting learning how to garden. Hi, my name is Damon Barr, and this is the Nebraska Garden. If you're not familiar with the channel, I'd appreciate if you subscribed. I post garden update shorts as frequently as I can, where I share everything that happens most days in the Nebraska garden. The good, the bad, the triumphs, and of course, all of the mistakes. One mistake I think every gardener should make when they're first starting out is to just wing everything. It's very easy to overcomplicate things and to overwhelm yourself by trying to learn as much information as possible. I know I did. When I first got into gardening, I was completely obsessed. I scoured the internet for every single video I could watch on every single plant before I got out to plant them. And by the time it was time to plant everything, I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't do anything out of fear that I would mess up. I wish I had known this important thing about gardening, which is to listen to your instincts. Some of gardening, yes, is memorization and reading and learning that way, but some of it is just using your gut to tell you, I should do this. Let's try this out. And I think you should do that because every single garden is unique. Your garden is different than my garden. We probably live in a different area. We probably have a different climate. We probably have different weather. We might have different pests, different pollinators. All of our circumstances are unique to our own garden. And so you're not going to be able to find every piece of information there is. So it's essential that you experiment in the garden. And sometimes that can lead to making mistakes. But a huge mistake that I don't think gardeners should make when they're trying out is to fear failing. Failure is how you learn. That's essential to the learning process, at least it is for me. Now, I definitely think doing research before you start gardening is important. I think it's important to learn about your gardening zone and your frost states and your sunlight and which plants thrive in the temperatures that you experience during your off seasons and your growing seasons. I think that is all essential, but it's important not to overwhelm yourself. I really got into square foot gardening when I first started out. It made everything seem so easy. You just divide your garden into square feet and you can figure out exactly what to plant and exactly where to plant it. The information on the back of the seed packet is often confusing and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and the instructions can vary from packet to packet even if it's the same exact plant. And I wish I had focused less on the exact square foot plan, because a lot of my square foot gardening ideas created headaches down the road because I put my okra and cantaloupe and loofah and cucumbers all in the same bed, and it became very overwhelming for me. So that's a mistake. In hindsight, I'm actually glad I made. I'm glad I made that mistake because I learned, okay, just because you can fit something in a square foot method doesn't mean that you will find the most success doing it that way. I think a mistake that beginner gardeners should feel more comfortable making, and I don't even know if you could call this a mistake, is to not make your garden as efficient as possible. There will be inefficiencies in your garden, and these inefficiencies that may lead to problems lead to creative problem solving. And problem solving is a skill that you must learn in the garden if you want to be a successful gardener. And if you're not the kind of person that gets overwhelmed by trying to learn a whole bunch of information, then by all means, do what brings you the most joy. Do what makes you find the most success in your garden. Every garden is unique. When I say wing it, I say figure out solutions to your problems on your own first. If you need to find some help to figure out what you're doing or you're completely lost, then go ahead. Use online resources, use books, use other gardeners. Those are great resources. Other people are the best resources. And I found that out through the mistake of sharing my mistakes online. You will, if you share your mistakes online, get a lot of comments telling you that you've made a mistake. That's just the way the internet works and how comment sections works. People love to tell you that they're right and you're wrong. And that's something I've accepted as somebody who puts videos out there. I make a lot of mistakes in my garden updates. You should subscribe to the channel, by the way, to keep up with those. But sharing my mistakes has opened my eyes so much to everything that I am doing wrong. And I've take all the feedback seriously, and I try to correct every single thing that people point out that I'm doing wrong and fix it so that I get the best success out of my garden. Because what brings me the most joy from my garden is the delicious food that I grow. And if you find joy and success in your garden in other ways, say you like growing pretty foliage, or you just like being outside and you don't really care if you produce that much food, follow that path. Follow your own path. Don't make the mistake of letting other people tell you what to do. Make the mistakes along the way on your own path, and I think you'll find more joy in gardening that way. I think another mistake that beginner gardeners should make more often, and maybe the first or second year that they started gardening, is to overdo it. Plant too much. Limit test your space. Your space is unique to you. Chaos gardening is a big thing that's floating around out there where you plant a bunch of seeds, and I don't know if I'm necessarily a proponent of that, but if that's what you need to do to figure out what to grow in your space, go for it. Completely send it. When I first started gardening, that's what I did. I overplanted by a lot, and it taught me a lot of valuable lessons. I got to see what happened to the plants when that happened, and that hands-on experience is something you will not get from watching videos. They do not show you everything. I don't even show you every mistake that I make because I pride myself in having some sanity sometimes. I can't be showing everything I do wrong now. But I think I learned more by overdoing it my very first summer of gardening than I would have if I planted too little, because those plants would have probably flourished and I would have had a great bounty from each one of those plants, but I would not have learned as much. And I think that's what's so important as a beginner gardener, is learning. You're trying to set the foundation for the many, many growing seasons you have to come. I think gardening has the potential for everybody to be a lifelong hobby, and it's a lifelong journey of learning how to garden. Nobody knows everything, and that's huge. That's something that you get to participate in. It's a human experience. Share your experiences with other gardeners. I want to know about all the mistakes that you've made in your garden. You know I've shared mine with you. So please let me know what you learned. Tell me the problems and the solutions you came up with. Those are the things that I find the most interesting about gardening. It would be a big mistake on my part to not say that if you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you. Happy gardening.